Hello and welcome. Tonight, service chiefs get marching order from the president. Defeat Boko Haram in 3 months, he says. And President Muhammadu Buhari reverses his predecessor, sacks managing director of the Nigeria Ports Authority. And the last 2 bodies from the Bristol helicopter crash recovered. And death toll in the China explosion hits 50.
And on business news tonight, the House of Representatives sets up an ad hoc committee to investigate the implementation of capital projects in the 2015 budget.
On sports news tonight, Association of Tennis Professionals ATP finds Nick Kyrgios for off-color jibe at Stan Wawrinka.
We begin tonight with the president's marching orders to the new service chiefs, asking them to defeat Boko Haram within 3 months. The president, Muhammadu Buhari, who lamented the upsurge in the wave of insurgency in the northeast, told the service chiefs that the nation depends on them for total liberation. The president gave the orders after decorating the officers whose appointments was announced 2 months ago. We'd like to warn that there are some flash photography in the reports you're about to watch, filed by our State House correspondent, Chukuma Onukasi.
Goes through the screening exercise by the National Assembly. It's now time for decoration of the service chiefs in the council chambers. And to preside over the function here is none other than President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, assisted by Vice President Yemi Oshibajo. Also present are senior military officials, family members and well-wishers of the service chiefs. First to be decorated was General Abayomi Olonishaki, Chief of Defense Staff. Followed by Major General T.Y. Burutai, Chief of Army Staff. Rear Admiral Ibok Etekekwe Ibas, Chief of Naval Staff, is next. Last but not the least is Air Vice Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, Chief of Air Staff. President Buhari says he is not in doubt that they will perform, asking them to, in 3 months, justify the honor done to them, bearing in mind the various security challenges facing the nation.
While commending the efforts of the armed forces of Nigeria so far, you need to brace up and continuously team up with other stakeholders to come up with a well-coordinated joint effort which will bring a desired end to these insurgencies in 3 months. In the course of carrying out this assignment, you must be accountable for all men and equipment placed under your command. Your troops' welfare should be uppermost in your mind. Take care of them and make available what is due to them. Concerted efforts should also be made to make judicious use of resources that are available to you in search for solutions to these challenges. On our own part, we shall be ready to give the needed resources to achieve this feat.
The Chief of Defense Staff spoke on behalf of the service chiefs, pledging to justify the appointment.
It's a presidential directive, and as a member of the armed forces, it is our duty to carry out that directive.
The President and the CDS called for the cooperation of all Nigerians in the effort to secure their lives, promising not to let the country down. And in the words of the President, this is the time for the military to get back to work and do the country proud. Chukuma Onekusi, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, efforts to tackle the Boko Haram insurgency continues to attract international support. This time, the United Kingdom has deployed security experts to provide training for the Nigerian police force. Some security experts in London have lauded the initiative but called for the overhaul of internal structures that could hamper progress. Our London correspondent Karen Chambers reports.
Nigeria is enjoying much support from the international community in the fight against Boko Haram and other national development issues. British security experts are now in Nigeria to help the police force in their efforts to fight Boko Haram. But this is not the first time that Nigeria has received help in the fight against the violent militant group. US military officials have offered intelligence and training for the security forces, and President Muhammadu Buhari received a pledge from the US for supplies of hardware for Nigeria's army.
I think the support provided by the British authority must be welcome.
Some security experts in London explore the renewed Western fervour to assist Nigeria within a broader context.
I think the challenge that people like me in the diaspora that have worked at least with some sectors within the security service have is that they do not have the background knowledge. And that's the area where we're having challenges at the moment. Do the British really understand the dynamics of the challenges on the ground? So I think our challenge is not just about the training. The training is good. I think there is more that needs to be put into it to ensure that it is fit for purpose to deliver what needs to be delivered.
Nigeria's security operatives have grappled with the asymmetrical nature of the Boko Haram insurgents. In July, the former Chief of Defence Staff, Air Chief Marshal Alex Bede, admitted he presided over an ill-equipped armed forces. The Nigerian police force has struggled with the same issues of poor working conditions amidst corruption, begging to question to which extent can training exercises impact on structural challenges. How much influence can external support mitigate issues of motivation and adequate working conditions?
I think they're not exclusive to one another, so I don't see any diametrical opposition between the government dealing with restructuring the Nigerian police force and the military, while at the same time seeking for foreign help. I think with this present regime, what we are seeing is a government that does not want to rest on its oars, so they want to make sure they're not missing anything. They want to make sure if there's anything that can be possibly done to solve this crisis as soon as possible, then they're not just seen to be doing that, but they're actually doing it.
How do you manage all this help that is coming in? Do you have a proper monitoring and evaluation structure in place to monitor all this help, all the money and all the different supports that have been provided? And I think that's where I'll be calling on Nigerian president to look at having a kind of a presidential advisory body on security.
The training sessions are expected to last 4 weeks, with the first batch of 63 recruits having already started. Only time will tell if the initiative will help Nigeria solve its security problems and if the training from the British security forces actually works. Karen Chambers, Channels Television News, London.
And to take a look at the President's directive on ending insurgency in 3 months, I'm being joined on the news at 10 by Colonel Ola Majoyeogbe. He is indeed a retired military intelligence officer. I want to thank you so much indeed for coming on the news at 10.
It's my pleasure.
You just heard what Mr. President said to the 4 service chiefs. Get insurgency under control in 3 months. And also considering that the former CDS, that's the Chief of Defence Staff, Air Marshal Alex Bade, had earlier said that he was faced with a military that was ill-equipped. How do you balance this?
My first reaction will be this, and I guess that I'm right. The president could not have given such orders without putting in place what is required to carry out those orders. Do not forget that he has been in this kind of situation before, fighting a conventional war, fighting in unconventional circumstances. So if he says to the service chiefs, you have three months to go, I believe it must be because of all the arrangements that he has put in place and what he expects the officers at that level to be able to do with the resources that they have. But let me quickly make this point. I think we should look at the orders with the benefit of hindsight. That is, let's take a few steps back. Lieutenant General Kenneth Minima succeeded in degrading the capacity of Boko Haram to conduct any warfare. Don't forget that we had a 6 weeks period during which they were able to liberate parts of Adamawa, Yobe, and Maiduguri. So the Boko Haram they are facing now is not the Boko Haram of a year ago. That is the first point. Now, the second point is that the situation has changed significantly. Why? Before now, the armed forces of Nigeria were up against Boko Haram. But since the president came, let's see how he has changed the game. One, he has been to Cameroon, he has been to Chad, he has been to Niger, he has been to Republic of Benin. So you now have 5 armies fighting Boko Haram. So if they want to go northwest, the Nigerians are there. You want to go northeast, you have the Chadians. You want to go full east, you have the Cameroonians. You want to come south, the Nigerian troops are there. 8,700 men under the command of the same general who has been fighting in the Niger Delta.
But one would have thought that the present administration would have consolidated on the gains of the past administration in fighting Boko Haram. But what we've seen is repeated.
They came as far as Mubi in Adamawa State, Goza, Madagali, Biu, and they were levying taxes. They were ruling. Then the armed forces were given the equipment that they require, and they defeated them everywhere they have been. And that's why I said Minima succeeded in degrading that. Now, the issue of bombing IEDs and so on is the weak man's weapon. In other words, either you try to hold territory or you blow up weak targets. So that is what they are doing now, because they are no longer
What's your final word? You believe that this government is going to be able to tackle Boko Haram in 3 months, yes or no?
Absolutely.
I want to thank you so much indeed, retired Colonel Ola Majoyegbe, for talking to us on the News at 10, a retired military intelligence officer. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari has terminated the appointment of the Managing Director of the Nigeria Port Authority, the NPA, Alhaji Sanusi Ado Bayero. The termination of Alhaji Bayero's appointment is with immediate effect. He is to hand over the management of the NPA and all government properties in his possession to Mr. Habibu Abdullahi, who has been reinstated as Managing Director of the NPA by President Buhari. The President wishes Alhaji Bayero well in his future endeavors. And in part 2, after the break, update on the Bristol helicopter crash. I'll be joined by a pilot, Captain Ado Sanusi. Stay with us.